Well, it's good to be back with you. Last week, you'll remember, we had unprogrammed worship, which since time immemorial has been held on the fifth Sunday, 4 times a year. But the elders decided to have it last Sunday, the third Sunday, because next Sunday, the fifth Sunday, we'll be hearing from friends from India who have come here to talk with us about their work there. So I urge you to be here next Sunday. So that's why we held silent worship last week on an off Sunday. For that reason, and for another reason, we wanted to test your faithfulness. So if you showed up, realized it was silent worship, and tried to escape back to your car unnoticed, it was noticed. The elders were watching and writing down license plate numbers and names of lukewarm Quakers on the lam. Those names have been moved to the top of the list of nominating committee, which, incidentally, is how I ended up becoming a Quaker minister, as an act of penance after falling asleep one Sunday during meeting for worship. The next day, a Monday, I was visited by the elders at Plainfield meeting, who told me I had fallen asleep, which naturally was very embarrassing, and I asked what I could do to redeem myself, and was told we needed Quaker pastors. And so I found myself enrolled in seminary. Don't let that happen to you. When we were last together, I spoke about depression, and one of you asked how long I had been a Quaker pastor, and I said almost 40 years, and they said, God, no wonder you're depressed. And I wish it were that simple. I wish life were really that simple, to be able to blame our depression on one identifiable thing. But depression, I've noticed, is usually far more complicated than that. Besides, at least for me, being a pastor has been a joyful experience. I love the life. You might remember my mentioning that antidepressants lifted me out of the depths of depression to a level place. And though they spared me from the depths of despair, they did not magically elevate me beyond the level ground. And I have come to realize that life on antidepressants is a bit like living in Indiana. There are no great valleys, but neither are there great mountains either. And while medicine saved me from the valleys, they did not allow me to experience the mountaintop, because pills are never enough. And so I had to develop specific practices and habits to improve my life, to experience those moments on the mountaintop. In the weeks ahead, I want to describe the practices and habits that have enriched my life, not only to remind myself of them, of their importance, but also to suggest them to you if you also struggle with depression. To that end, I want to begin by speaking about the importance of facing reality. Facing reality, and how our ability to do that is fundamental to our well-being. And this is counterintuitive, since we often think reality is what depressed us in the first place. I was speaking with a friend this week, and I could tell he was down in the dumps, and I asked him what was wrong. And he started talking about the threats to American democracy, the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Depression seems to be a reasonable response to our current reality. But I have learned just the opposite is true. It is not reality that causes our depression, but rather the avoidance of reality, the denial of reality, to such a degree that it becomes an impediment to our happiness. The first denial for the depressed person is always the same. I want to say that again. The first denial for the depressed person is always the same, and it is this: I will get better without help. I will get better without help. I will get better when it stops raining and the sun comes out. I will get better when spring arrives. I will get better when I get married or get divorced. I will get better when I make more money, when I get a better job. I will get better when I buy my dream home. I will get better when I get a new outfit, a new motorcycle, although that one works, a new car. I will get better when I lose weight, get my hair done, go to the gym. I will get better when I have children or when my children leave home. I will get better when I can relax and have a beer or two or three. I will get better when I can take a painkiller. I will get better when I get saved. I will get better when America is great again. I will get better when the Democrats are in charge or when the Republicans get back to the White House. Now, there is no doubt that these things provide for some people a temporary lift in mood, but they are not a cure-all for depression, whose cause is often biological, physiological in nature, especially as we age and our body's ability to moderate the levels of serotonin and other hormones diminish. Your new car might be fun, but it will make no discernible physiological difference in the regulation of serotonin, so its impact on your mood will be both negligible and short-lived. The avoidance of our physical reality, especially as we age, can have catastrophic consequences. Looking for happiness in things and in situations, we will neglect to seek it where it can truly be found. We avoid reality for many reasons. I think first because it is frightening. It is frightening to take a cold, hard look at our lives, to face reality and to face life directly. We are consummate avoiders of difficulty. World class. When my father went to therapy for treatment of his alcoholism, I asked the therapist if he had learned anything that might help my father. And he said, I met with your father a total of 8 hours and learned more about Notre Dame football than I ever cared to know. But I didn't learn one thing about the emotional dynamics of your father's depression. We are world-class avoiders. We avoid reality for other reasons. Not only does it make us feel vulnerable and unsafe, it is also a significant commitment. a significant commitment. Facing reality is work. Ditch digging, back-breaking work. Eventually, if you persist with it, it is exhilarating and liberating, freeing, but at first, it will be exhausting. It's like the saying, the truth shall set you free, but first it will piss you off. Facing reality will set you free, but first it will challenge you, frustrate you, and even exhaust you. And guess what? We resist the things that challenge, frustrate, and exhaust us. I've mentioned several times that one of the bravest things a human being can do is to consult a therapist. To open our lives to another person requires tremendous courage, and most of us can't even do that with our spouses, let alone a stranger we just met. But this avoidance of reality is an impediment to our happiness, perhaps the greatest impediment, because it is far easier to avoid reality than face it. And because that is true, we look for happiness in situations and things that can never ultimately satisfy us. They might give us a taste of joy, but it is only a taste, and we will leave the table hungry. If you are depressed, please, as a gift to yourself, talk with your doctor. If your doctor doesn't take you seriously, find a doctor who will. More times than I can count, I have seen lives improved by the miracle of modern medicine. Depression is not shameful, no more than diabetes is shameful. It is not an indication of weakness, no more than cancer is a sign of weakness. It is most often a biological issue with biological causes. I have no doubt that if Jesus were alive today and someone came to him depressed, he would lead that person to a doctor, pay for his Lexapro, and send him forth on the road to health. Perhaps even to be a Quaker pastor. Who knows how those things happen? Friends, life is too great a gift, too lovely a venture to permit each day to begin and end in sorrow. I want to say that again. Life is too great a gift, too lovely a venture to permit each day to begin and end in sorrow. I read a wonderful sentence this week written by a woman who said, "My desire to be well informed about current issues is now in direct conflict with my desire to remain sane." And this is always the struggle for us, isn't it, friends? To be well informed, but to also remain optimistic, to be aware of what is happening in our world, but to still retain hope. This is always our challenge, and it is not a challenge unique to us or to our generation. It is the challenge of all humanity since time and thought began. So, friends, breathe deep, look close, love deeply, and trust that in the end, the final word is always a good one. That is our prayer, and that is our hope, and that is our faith as Quakers. Amen. Turn and greet friends.